أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد.
This is our 40th lesson, alhamdulillah, for the Tafseer al-Fateha. And so here today's lesson we are going to start about Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. The concept of hamd praise is related to related to every Kamal and Jamal. Kamal means perfection and Jamal means beauty. The concept of hamd is basically, hamd is for two things only. Either we praise the perfection or we are supposed to praise the beauty. So this is what the hamd is all about, the praise is all about. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the Rabb,
Like one more, I think.
Rabb, which means the one who is takes every existence to its desired kamal. Rabb is from the root word of rububiyyah, which means upbringing, doing the tarbiyat and upbringing of everything towards the perfection al-kamal that the thing deserves. That's the meaning of Rabb. Rabb is the Lord that is doing tarbiyat. Rububiyyat means upbringing of not just the humans and the jinns, but every single thing, taking every single thing towards the perfection that the thing deserves. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being the Rabb performing the rububiyyat and upbringing of everything towards the perfection that the thing deserves to reach. Everything is here, it comes here when we say that Rabbil Alameen. And the word Alameen in Arabic is the plural of the word Al-Alam. Al-Alam. And Al-Alam, the meaning of Al-Alam is Ma yu'lamu bihi. Something with which you can know the thing. So every single thing, let me write it like this. Can you read this?
Yes.
Every existence is Alam. Let's understand the term used in Quran. Al-Alameen is the plural and the singular is Al-Alam. And the meaning of Al-Alam is this. Ma yu'lamu bihi, and I'm explaining the meaning Ma yu'lamu bihi. So every existence is Alam. Alam means Ma yu'lamu bihi. That means something with which you recognize, you know about the other thing. So why we call every existence to be Alam? Because every existence is a sign of God, and through every existence out there, you know about Allah. Because every existence is a sign through which you know about Allah, you discover about Allah. This is the reason everything is called Alam. And plural is Al-Alameen. Is that clear? So now let's go back to the verse of Holy Quran. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deserves all the praise, and every praise in the Islamic concept of the hamd and praise has to be done either on the perfection, about the perfection of something. If something is perfect, it's only then you do the hamd, the praise, or about the beauty found in something. So hamd, the praise, is only done either on perfection or on beauty or both. And Allah being the Rabb and performing the job of rububiyyat and a bringing of everything towards the perfection that that thing deserves to acquire, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala performing this job towards everything which is included in the term Al-Alameen, because everything, every existence is Alam, with which, a sign with which we discover about Allah. So when this is the case, this verse of Holy Quran is self-evident, self-proving, and it includes the evidence why Allah is the only one who deserves hamd and praise, because of two evidences mentioned in this ayat. That's the evidence number one, why the praise is happening, why the hamd is taking place. This is the evidence number one. Okay? And this is the evidence number two. Evidence number two, why the praise is happening. The first evidence being Allah is the one who is the only Lord worthy of worshipping. And the second evidence is the only one who is performing the job of rububiyyat, upbringing of everything towards the perfection that the thing deserves to acquire. Because he's the only one performing these two things, the logical result is the only one who deserves every praise. Is that clear? Let's go to the next. So we have two evidences mentioned right in the verse, indicated right there in the verse, uluhiyyat of Allah and rububiyyat of Allah. Two evidences indicated in the verse, which are the reasons why the praise only in the whole universe, the praise belongs to Allah only and no one but Allah only. And these are two. Is there anybody else who deserves to be worshipped? The answer to that is no. Is there anybody who is upbringing every single existence and taking every single existence towards the perfection that the thing deserves to acquire? The answer to that is no. There is nothing else who's taking every existence towards its desired, deserving perfection. So because Allah is the only one doing these two jobs, He is the only one who deserves the absolute praise, which is called hamd. Okay, so I talked about everything is alam, because through every single thing we discover about Allah, because every single thing is an ayat and sign of God that leads us towards Allah. So and let's also remember about Allah. We already learned that the word Allah, right? It's remember the definition when we were discussing Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, al-Ism al-Jami' لجميع الصفات الكمالية, that name al-Jami' al-Mustajmi' لجميع الصفات, that name that includes, engulfs all the attributes of perfection. So because the word Allah refers to our God who has all the attributes of perfection, and I said in the previous slide that every praise is done either, you can see something still visible here, every praise is either done over perfection, kamal, or beauty, jamal, or both. And because Allah, the name Allah itself refers to every single attribute of perfection, which is Allah has all those attributes, attributes of perfection and attributes of beauty. So this is the obvious reason why He deserves the praise. And also it is the second point important to note is that praise, let me say in Arabic, because we are talking about terms, so I'll use the Arabic word, praise, alhamd. So the praise is for the sake of granting of Allah has every perfection and every beauty, and apart from Him having every perfection and every beauty, He is not only keeping that, He is giving to others. He is granting others the perfection, opportunity to acquire perfection. He is Rabb. We just discussed minutes ago why we call Him Rabbul Alameen, because He is doing rububiyyat, the job of rububiyyat. Rububiyyat means upbringing of existences and taking every existence towards the perfection that that specific thing deserves to acquire.
Everything has a different perfection. That thing, a stone has a different set of growth and perfection. A water has something else. Jinns have something else. Humans have something else. Stars have something else. It's not one standard path, one standard thing. So every perfection that specific existence deserves to acquire in its duration of existence, Allah is bringing every existence and taking that existence towards the desired, deserving perfection that the thing deserves to acquire. Because Allah is doing this job of rububiyyat, He is granting perfection to others. He is the source of perfection, and He is granting perfection plus beauty. Allah is granting perfection and beauty. This is where the praise comes in. Not only He Himself deserves the praise, because every beauty and every perfection belongs to Him, but He's also granting and bestowing upon others the perfection and opportunity of acquiring perfection, and Jamal, opportunities of acquiring beauty. And only Allah is doing that. This So when it's only Allah doing that, the hamd, the praise belongs to Him only, nobody else. And so this is the reason why we say that Mahmud, the one who is praised, the praised one, is only Allah. No one else deserves the praise except Allah. Is there anybody who is granting opportunities of perfection and beauty to anything, to every single existence? The answer to that is obviously no. So the Mahmud, the praised one, is only Allah. And the third important point, that's the second point. The third important point in today's discussion is that Allah is the only Hamid. That's another very important point to remember. Al-Hamid, the only Hamid, the praising one, someone who praises, the doer of the praise. He's the only one who praises. Why we say He's the only Mahmud? It's clear. He's the only one who is granting perfection and beauty to others, and He's the only one who is, the Lord who's worthy of being worshipped, and He's the only one who's bringing every single existence towards His desired and deserving perfection. So this makes sense, but now He's the only one who praises. We also praise Allah. Are we not Hamid? We are also Hamid. Then why are we saying the only Hamid is actually Allah only? No one else is Hamid. No one else is the one who praises. Because praising somebody, praising someone necessarily requires to have ma'rifat, in-depth recognition of the Waliyun Ni'mah, the blessing provider. You need to know the blessing provider completely and fully to be able, complete recognition of the existence of the blessing provider, and we are unable to fathom and measure and encompass, engulf, and completely acquire the full in-depth recognition of Allah. It's not in our reach. Thus, we are unable in the fullest sense of the word to acquire the ma'rifat and in-depth recognition of the blessing provider who bestows the blessings upon us. When we are unable to acquire His ma'rifat and in-depth recognition, we would be, we know Him. Do we know Him completely? No. When you do you recognize Him, have His ma'rifat completely? No. So you are unable to do the praise properly and completely. Every praise that you would do would be incomplete. So He's the only one who praises. because he's the only one who knows his own ma'rifat. Right? So let's remember these three important points, that he is the only, the meanings. In the first point I told you the meanings of that words one by one, and the third point is about the fact that he is the only, Mahmud in the universe, the only one who is praised and deserves the praise. No one else deserves the praise other than Allah. And he is the only Hamid as well, and no one else has that complete ma'rifat and in-depth recognition of Allah being the blessing provider. So when no one has, then no one else can be the one, the Hamid and the one who praises. Okay, let's move forward. We did study a while ago. I don't know if all of you were there or not. La yahmadu hamidun. Sorry. La yahmadu hamidun. La yahmadu hamidun illa rabbahu. Right? No praising one praises except his Lord. Every single human who is praising someone or something is in the real sense actually praising Allah only. You start praising the iPhone, actually in the real sense you're praising Allah, who gave us the mind and the brain and the ability and the blessings and all the vision and all those things which are required, and the skills and knowledges to even develop and do things, right? None but Allah. So everyone who is praising whatever, in the real sense, actually he is praising no one but Allah. So it's a very important point to keep in your mind. Okay. Let's go to the next slide. So we have point number 4 by tonight's lesson is the difference between hamd. Now let's first go to the meaning, the detailed meaning of hamd, and then we'll go towards the differences. The detail in hamd, the praise. What's the detailed meaning of that? What's the definition of hamd in Arabic? So the praise performed over any perfection and or beauty or any act of goodness performed with the free will. That's the definition of hamd. Alhamdulillah. هو المدح
Hamd is defined as the praise and madh that is done over every perfection, كل كمال أو جمال, all beauty, the praise which is performed on every perfection, all beauty, أو عمل حسن اختياري, or an act of goodness, a good act, which is done with your free will. So if you are forced to do something, there is no praise. We never do hamd for the animals. In Arabic, you can never use the word alhamd for any animal, because if an animal is worshipping Allah, he is forced to do that, right? It's not in his ikhtiyar and free will to start opposing, and then because he did not oppose, he wishfully chooses to obey and do the worship of Allah, and that's why he deserves the praise. So we never praise on anyone who is performing an act of goodness which is beyond his reach. There is no praise. Okay? So this is the definition of hamd. Now obviously, keeping this definition in mind, there's still something more remaining. So this is the first thing. Now, whether the impact of that perfection reaches others or not. And in the case it reaches, others, whether the receiver of that impact is the one who is praising al-Hamid, or not. And I will explain that. And rather the receiver of that impact is an
aqil, intellectual, sane, entity or not. This is the complete definition of hamd in Islamic belief system. That's the complete definition of the word alhamd. Let me first read the definition to you. The praise which is performed over any kamal, perfection, or jamal, beauty, or any act of goodness, any good act of goodness, performed by the doer with his free will, whether the impact of that perfection reaches others or not. So you do something, so you're praising someone over a kamal and perfection that he has. Now that kamal and perfection maybe is restricted in his own self, and any impact of that perfection doesn't reach others. Or it may reach others. In both the cases we use the word alhamd for that, the praise. I'll give you examples for that, and it will be more clear when I give you the examples. And in the case it reaches others, whether the receiver of that impact is the one who is praising himself or not. So I'm praising, let's suppose, I'm praising, am I the one who is at the receiving end of the impact of that perfection? Or I'm not receiving anything. In both the cases it will be called alhamd, whether I am receiving, the praising person is receiving the impact, or I am not receiving the impact. Whether the receiver of that impact is an aqil, intellectual, sane person, intellectual entity, or not. So this is the comprehensive definition in our Islamic belief system about alhamd. And I think I need to give examples to make it clear in your minds. So, hamd can be of two types. Hamd may be, before we go to the next slide, it is important to cover in this slide. It may be towards the zat and essence, and it may be towards the sifat, attributes. You may be praising the essence of Allah, or you may be praising His attributes. For both we use the word hamd. Now obviously in the case of the attributes of Allah, for example, certain attributes, you find the impact of that attribute of perfection reaches others. For example, the impact of that attribute of perfection reaches others. Example, Allah being al-Raziq, the sustainer, rizq provider. It's an attribute of perfection of Allah. But that attribute of perfection is one of those attributes whose impact reaches others. He provides the sustenance, I receive the rizq and sustenance from Allah, right? Rizq al-ma'navi, metaphysical sustenance, iman, taqwa, zuhd, nuraniyat, luminosity in the soul, ma'naviyat, metaphysical blessings, walayat of Ahlul Bayt on top of everything, all ma'navi rizq and maddi rizq as well, the food that we consume, the water, everything. So the attribute of perfection called rizq and Allah being ar-Raziq, the sustainer, is one of those list of attributes of perfection whose impact reaches others. Likewise, for example, Allah being al-Khaliq, the creator, right? Again, the impact of this attribute of perfection reaches others. He creates, so we receive the impact, we get created. We are receiving, right? Or those are the attributes whose impact doesn't reach or not. The impact of the attribute does not reach others. For example, in some of the texts of Islam, we say, and I have written down, let me read it from the text. So we say, Alhamdulillah alladhi lam yattakhidh walada. All the praise belongs to that Allah who has not chosen, not taken any child. Allah has no children. He doesn't beget. He doesn't beget children, right? He has no kids. So this is an attribute of perfection. So not having Allah, the Lord, not having any children is an attribute of perfection of God. If He had children, He would be incomplete. For Allah not having children is an attribute of perfection. Does the impact of this attribute of perfection, Allah not having kids, an attribute of perfection for Allah, does the impact of this attribute reaches us? No. We don't receive any impact of that attribute in our everyday life. Right? This example of this. The attribute of perfection having no impact reaching others. Another example of Allah, the attribute of perfection not reaching us. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ شَرِيكٌ فِي الْمُلْكِ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ شَرِيكٌ فِي الْمُلْكِ. Allah having no partner in His kingdom. Having no partner in His kingdom is an attribute of perfection. If we have partners, supporters, helpers, advisors, assistants, it's an attribute of weakness. For Allah having no partner in His kingdom is an attribute of perfection. Does the impact of this attribute of perfection reaches us? We don't receive any impact of that attribute in our everyday life. Third example. وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ وَلِيٌّ مِّنَ الذُّلِّ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ وَلِيٌّ مِّنَ الذُّلِّ. He has no wali to save him from insult, humiliation. He doesn't need any helper to save him from any insult and humiliation. We need helpers to protect us when we are insulted. Allah does not stand in need of any helper to protect him from getting humiliated. Nothing can be decreased from His empire. Right? So again, this is an attribute of perfection for Allah, not standing in need of any helper to protect Him from getting humiliated. It's an attribute of perfection for Allah. Does the impact reach us, others? No. Let's go to at least two more examples I have written here. Alhamdulillahi al-awwali bila awwalin kana qablahu. Alhamdulillahi al-awwali All the praise belongs to that Allah who is the first, bila awwalin qablahu, without any first ahead of Him.
So Allah being that first, which is such that there isn't any other first ahead of Him. It's an attribute of perfection for Allah. His awwaliyat is without any other awwal. His being the first is without anyone ahead of Him. It's an attribute of perfection. Does the impact reaches us? No. We don't receive any impact of that attribute of perfection. Nobody reaches that, receives that impact from this attribute of perfection of Allah. But we are allowed to praise Allah. We are praising Allah. Alhamdulillah. Hamd can happen in over those attributes of perfection as well, whose impact does not reach others. That's what we are discussing, the comprehensive definition of the Islamic concept of Alhamd. Let's go to the last example before I finish, and that is أول كان قبله. الحمد لله الآخر. الحمد لله الآخر بلا آخر كان بعده. All the praise belongs to that Allah who is the last, without any anyone coming after Him. So Allah being the last, everyone is going to die, everyone is going to be gone. We will all face death, everything will face death, without exception. He is the only one who is the last, without any other last after Him. This is an attribute of perfection of Allah, but nobody is receiving any impact of that attribute in his life, right? So, I have written one more, let me also add one more example that I have written. قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين. We say قصرت عن رؤيته أبصار الناظرين. The eyes of those who are watching are unable to see Him. Eyes of all those who are watching are unable to see Him. An attribute of perfection. Allah being unable to be seen, which means Allah is mujarrad anil madda. He is free from matter. He is metaphysical. He is nur. Allah is divine light, free from matter. Attribute of perfection, that Allah being free from matter and no one who is watching can ever be able to see Him. He is not made of matter. He is nur and divine light. Attribute of perfection, right? But does the impact reach us? The answer to that is no. Inshallah we continue. Sallallahu ala sayyidina nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi.
اللهم صل على محمد